Good evening, my name is Coca Treviño. I'm founder of the Proyecto. Together with the ESB Mexican American Cultural Center, we're thrilled to have Justin Favela here in our Spanglish Series. As you may know, this program is dedicated to champion Latinx excellence and inspire our communities into action. Welcome, Justin.
Muchísimas gracias. Thank you for having me. What a dream. Thank you.
Right? The dream is for me. But let me just say a little brief of what you do so that whoever's not familiar, quien sea que haya vivido abajo de una roca pueda salir y abrirse al mundo. Based in Las Vegas, Nevada, and known for his large-scale installations and sculptures that manifest his interactions with the American pop culture and the Latinx experience, Justin Favela has exhibited and commissioned his work both internationally and across the U.S. He is the recipient of the 2018 Alan Turing LGTBIQ Award for International Artists. He also hosts two culture-oriented podcasts, The Amazing Latinos Who Lunch, and also Art People podcast. Ahora sí, gracias, señor. ¡Qué feliz! ¡Qué feliz!
I'll pause for applause. Pause for applause. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm so happy to have you here. And it's just nice to talk to you. No nos hemos hablado en meses, I believe.
I know. I miss you so much because I'm usually in Austin at least 2-3 times a year. Y este año no me tocó because of the damn Rona.
Yep. A nadie. Yeah. So estamos todos castigados, pero aquí, at least I got an excuse to talk to you and for people to chat with you and see how pretty and how awesome you are.
Yeah, look how white I am because I don't go outside. Right? My credit score is so much better now. It's amazing.
Yep. And if you people see me shine, it's not only for excitement. My AC just broke, so it's extra layers of happiness here in Austin, Texas in mid-July. Anyway, platícanos un poquito de tu historia. ¿Cómo decidiste que te ibas a dedicar a las artes?
Pues el año era 1986 y nací aquí. No, I'm just kidding.
You're such a kid.
I was born an artist. No, I think I always have been a creative person, and I was also raised really religious. So being creative is only a positive thing. If it's like for the church, you know. So I was musical growing up. My family was very musical, so we would sing and I would play instruments, and my brothers too for the church. So I always was creative in that way. And then after high school, ya que salimos de la iglesia, if my grandma heard this, she would be so mad because, you know, she still has hope that I'll go back to church.
Oh, grandma, we have hope for you.
But yeah, I stuck with music in high school, tocaba la tuba, okay, and then
con la banda.
Con la banda. We formed a banda in high school, me and my Mexican friends. It was really fun. But I got to college and I also played the tuba, and I started to look at other ways to express myself creatively, because I really wanted to be a teacher, and I just really wasn't that great at music. You know, it was just I got away with being just okay. Because nobody wants to play the tuba, you know. But I found that I was really good at expressing myself through visual art, through collage, through painting. And then when I found sculpture, I was like, this is it. This is what I want to do. And so I started working 3-dimensionally, I think in like 2007.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and so that's like through high school. Like, did you discover it in a random class at school, or?
Yeah, I always loved art classes in school, but it was, you know, it was always kind of discouraged for me to go to like make art, you know.
Yeah.
But it's funny how, you know, growing up, like the thing that makes you different is what your primos make fun of you.
Oh,
and I remember I would love to make my primos like birthday cards, like handmade, like in collages on them.
sweet.
And I would like give them to my cousins and they'd be like, "Oh, Justin, you're so creative," and they would laugh at me because it was like, I don't know, because it was different, and so that's like the little ways that I was discouraged, you know, to
Diles, like
go into
if you would
art.
have saved them, if you would have saved those cards, maybe you could have made money out of them.
I know, because
Pinches.
the 90s are back. All those Looney Tunes drawings I did, man. But
Ahí
yeah,
estaba una pequeña fortuna.
right? Oh my gosh, yeah, right. So, yeah, so you know, I kind of stuck with music in that way, and it was fun because musicians are also weirdos, and they're awesome and progressive, and you know, very creative people. So when I was in high school, also, like, any excuse to like not be home and not be at church was a great thing. So I me la pasaba en la escuela. My mom would be like, "Nunca sales de esa escuela," and I'm like, "I know, I just love school so much," because I was in band, you know, concert band, marching band, jazz band, and then I got into theater and choir and all the gay shit, you know. So it was just, I just kind of like embraced it all. And then visual arts didn't happen until college because I had to take a humanities course, you know, other than music.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, you know what, I'll take a drawing class. So I took drawing 101. And after that, I took
¿Para qué fuiste a college?
it was going to be secondary education in history. That was my original degree. Yeah.
Cool.
And then I changed it. My sophomore or junior year, I changed it to art, to sculpture. Yeah. Once I took the 3-dimensional art class, it was over. I loved it. Yeah.
And all of this is in Vegas, right?
At UNLV in Las Vegas. Yeah.
How weird is like growing up in Vegas? Is that just pretty normal except for the tourists, or is it a whole experience?
You know, I used to say it's just like any other city in the Southwest. You know, like we have, you know, a lot of people say like we're the biggest suburb of Los Angeles, you know, because we're so close to LA. So they're kind of like sister cities in a way. We would always go to LA growing up. And so, you know, if you look at towns in like New Mexico and Arizona, very similar, just like a big desert valley with a grid and the same stores and the same, you know, it's very, very American Southwest. But now that I'm older and I have some like time to think about it, people from Vegas are really awesome and really weird and interesting because we are born and raised here to serve. Like hospitality is our thing here. So
Gotcha.
People in Las Vegas, it kind of feels like when I go to Texas sometimes, like everybody's like really nice, but in Vegas, people are not fake nice. People understand that the economy relies on tourism. So we are actually really grateful for people that are here, you know, like we're not annoyed by tourists here because we know that's why we exist here, right? So,
Got it.
and my family, mi mamá vino de Guatemala in the 80s, and my dad came from northern Mexico. So, and the reason why they moved here was to work at the casinos or at the restaurants on the strip, you know? And so, Las Vegas, in a way, is a reflection of what the world thinks fun is, or like what the world thinks they want to do. Which locals, we don't want to do that. We don't want to do that.
It makes so much sense.
It's like going to Manhattan, going to New York and asking your friend to take you to Times Square. They're like, why? What do you?
Yeah, it's a postcard. It's a living postcard.
Yes. So
So
basically, the Las Vegas Strip has become a giant postcard, a giant mall, a giant Times Square. But the people that live here are like, they're some of the realest, nicest, most hardworking people in America.
Yeah. Oh, that's lovely. And I'm just impressed at hearing like all those different programs that you had growing up. Like, nice. Like, I guess that comes with all the tourist money, or like, yeah, like good spreading of the monies of the city. I don't know. I'm just making
Yeah,
things up.
I mean, the
I was
school
just
district.
impressed with the amount of programs.
Oh, all the school stuff that I did. My school was well, this is the thing. Vegas is very diverse, actually. So I went to a predominantly Mormon, white Mormon, slash Latino slash Black, and then I think there was also a pretty big Filipino community. So, but the Mormons, they came here like in the early 1900s, and like um, they were running away from persecution, really. And Utah's really close to here, so they have this huge economy in Las Vegas, which is so interesting because it's like you think of like Vegas as Sin City, but most of the people that run this town are LDS, which is interesting to
I
say
mean,
the
it's
least.
change the thing from within. Like, let's
Yeah,
get,
it's
them.
yeah, Italian mobsters and like Mormons. Like interesting,
Why not?
it's a weird place. Yeah.
They're very ambitious on their challenges, I guess.
Yeah, and the mob cares about its people. So, some things were really funded well, but honestly, it's not the best school district and stuff here, but there's a lot for kids to do in Las Vegas, especially nowadays.
That's awesome. Yeah. Okay, y luego, ¿cómo te diste cuenta? Entonces, nos estabas platicando que en la universidad y en la preparatoria empezaste a hacer
Ajá.
cosas con tus manos y entonces eso fue, siempre fuiste así de talentoso porque el nivel de craft y de poder visualizar y crear algo de la nada que tienes es bastante impresionante. Like, I've seen you work and I've seen you lead teams into like big pieces and smaller pieces, and it's just I'm amazed both at the manual skill and the and the conceptual slicing.
Yeah.
Pero like siempre
Sí.
estuviste haciendo cosas con tus manos, entonces.
Yeah, I mean, okay, this is another thing. So, cuando, growing up, I wasn't really a very social kid. And so they used to call me the loner in my neighborhood when I was like in middle school, high school, because I would just stay inside and watch TV and draw and like make little things, like, and so, and I love to cook also. And so, and we didn't grow up with a lot. So my mom was always really proud of me. She's like, Justin, you can really make something out of nothing, and that's like such a valuable thing. And I think my mom recognized that when I was really little and kind of encouraged that behavior. And so, and also made me very like just independent from a very young age. So I would just try and like get away with doing little things here and there that were, creative. And, this is the thing, because I was a middle school teacher for a little bit, and I was trying to tell my students, I was like, if you're just quiet and you listen, you can get away with anything.
Everything, yes.
And so yo siempre ay, Justincito, that's what my grandma's called me, que humilde, que obediente, because I was always in the chisme, like playing next to the adults, doing my little crafts, and but I was always up to something, you know what I mean? But there was never a red flag with me because I was quiet and respectful, so that's something that I'm still like, people still kind of see me as that in a way, but times are different now.
Oh,
so
you're louder.
Yeah.
No, me too. Like, yo también creciendo, mi hermana, quien adoro, ella es súper más, ella está más chaparrita que yo, pero su personalidad es mucho más loud o grande y así. Y yo también, de que yo siempre estaba callada y todo, y en mi casa, sí, definitivamente era diferente la actitud de cómo me trataban a mí, porque a mí también me hacían sentir mal bien rápido. Si yo hacía algo mal, de que con una mirada a mi mamá, de que yo, no, perdón, de que, y a mi hermana era, pásame el cinto, y mi hermana atacada de la risa, de que, no me duele. It was like a whole thing. But yeah, es mejor. Bueno, no,
my
I don't know,
brothers
es
were
mejor.
also, my brothers were wild too. So mi hermano Brandon le decían el terremoto. So like they were. So I was like the well behaved kid, you know.
Yeah, we always
Yeah.
need one of those.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, tienes muchos proyectos todo el tiempo, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
is there a common thread? Like, hay algo que siempre estés buscando en todos tus proyectos, sea de podcast, las instalaciones, books. Platícanos
Yeah.
que, yeah, what is it?
It's always changing. I think the when I first started making artwork about my identity, it was really about self-discovery and studying my own history, my own family's history. And then once I started getting more recognized in institutions, it was about learning the Latinx or the queer or the, more specific like Mexican or Guatemalan history within of the artists or people within the institution. Um, and so I like to highlight those histories in my work. I also like to mess with the white canon of artists that are very respected and taught. I think like a lot of these white old artists from like the 60s, like I cannot believe they got away with, first of all, making all that like minimalist, land art, all that stuff. But really that was stolen also. Those ideas were stolen by a lot of different people from different
Yeah,
cultures. They're never given credit for it,
yeah.
especially a lot of artists from South America and Central America. So um, I'm interested in that. And recently, before um, before the pandemic, before the uprising, um, I started thinking a lot about last year. Really, I started thinking about a lot about uh, my mental health and this idea of happiness and what that is. Because growing up Protestant Christian on one side and Catholic on the other, if you're happy and you know it, it's a sin. Okay. Yeah, it's a sin. Like it's not being happy isn't really rewarded. What's rewarded is suffering and labor, just like
Yep,
Jesus, right?
yep.
And so I those values are so instilled in me that I do these giant projects and I kill myself doing them, and I'm like, and this is what I'm here for. And so after like working so hard the last 2 years and like putting my body through hell, um I started thinking like, what makes me happy and how can I express that? And and then there's all this writing, especially from Black women, Black authors, of like this idea of joy, you know, uh, being political and like expressing joy as a political act. So that's in the back of my head right now, of how I'm gonna, proceed in the future. But so there's like a common thread, I think, within my work. There's definitely been an evolution in the last
Yeah.
couple of years.
Pero definitivamente si tú te estás integrando a algún proyecto es porque tiene algo que desarrollar en tu persona o es algo que estás
Sí.
explorando en ese momento.
O temas de representación, like institutional critique. I love that kind of stuff. And so, or la idea de, last year in Houston, I had a show all about Tex-Mex
Love
food
it. I was
because,
so happy to be able to see it. Like, I was just
it was
curious.
in
I was like,
Austin.
no. I went to Houston for a
Oh,
meeting
you
or
did?
something, and I was like, I have to go. And we went, and it was everything
Yeah.
and more. Like just the size and this is us. Like yeah,
Yeah.
say,
Es que es la idea de like, this is real Mexican food and this is Tex-Mex. And then the more I went to Texas, I'm like, yeah, I know this is very regional and specific, but this shit is good. And there's a really great history here. And
yeah,
let's talk about it. Like chile con carne de San Antonio, like nachos from the border, like rolled tacos in El Paso. Like there's so many histories that are important. And I love that. I love also showing like, oh look, you even just Mexican people are so diverse and multifaceted. this idea of this monolith is like something that I'm trying to break through when I'm talking to people. Yeah, with my art.
Yeah. No, and I can see it, and it's good because yeah, as much as the media changes or the space changes, like it's always something warm or something that where you, well, me as a Mexican person living in Texas, like I can identify it like so quickly, and it's warm and it makes you think, and it's also like you want to touch it, and like it's a lot of feelings that, yeah, I really like it. And also like being able to also listen to your podcast and to other projects that you have, like yeah, everything makes sense. And I do believe like you're speaking to me and you're speaking to people like me, and this is such a new thing. It's like, not to throw shade, but whenever I see George Lopez or comedians like that, like who what, like, no, I mean, you can play in the stereotypes and sure you'll touch some things, but that guy does not represent my experience at all. It just mocks it and it makes me angry. Whereas like if we're being silly and we've been like exploring like the story of nachos, like it comes from a different place, it comes from shared experience, and it comes from research and love, not mocking and I don't know.
Stereotypes. And that's the thing, is like Latinos, as minorities, which I don't know, I don't like that word more and more every day, because we're taking over, baby. We're not
Oh, yeah.
we're not going to be minorities anytime soon. But
Not thanks to me.
yeah. But I we're only allowed a few representatives in the media, and then for a long time I was like, okay, we got George Lopez, before that it was Paul Rodriguez, so it's like and so they don't represent us. And we're in a new age now where we have all these media platforms, social media platforms, and people are finding their people, and it's so important to see yourself represented. And also, like Latinos Who Lunch, our big push in the beginning was like, if we could do this, anybody could do this. Start a podcast, talk to your parents, like talk to your cousins, start, and because I think when we started, there was maybe like 10 podcasts that we could find in Espanol or de Latinidad, or whatever. And now I don't have time to listen to all of them. There's so many, which is such a great problem to have.
Sí, no, qué increíble.
Yeah.
Sí. Y aparte con todo lo que viajas en tus residencias y todo, que siempre estás conectando con gente, y eso, que se vayan topando con que hay un apoyo, con que no hay un jealousy, like, oh no, this is my shit, and like,
Yeah.
I'm the first one. Yeah.
There's room for everybody, okay? The mesa is my cousin's quinceañera mesa that's like half a mile long, okay? They got they hired a mariachi hasta las 3 de la mañana, so just have a seat, get a drink. We can all fit in we can all have a seat at the table. It's fine, right? Yeah.
Oye, ¿cómo decides tener de Art People podcast? Like, es porque no tienes tiempo que perder.
I know, right? No, es que con Latinos Who Lunch aprendí más de mi identidad, right? And like, I was also, through the podcast, I was able to find the language to the words to actually like talk about these feelings that I've had. Like before Latinos Who Lunch, I didn't know what a microaggression was.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how big of a problem colorismo was within, the Latinx community. I've learned so much, and so I felt more confident in expressing the ideas around race and colorism after doing Latinos Who Lunch for a couple of years. And I thought, you know what, I'm still not comfortable talking to art people. So like when I go to a museum and these curators and I get invited to all these dinners, I'm like, oh my God, I feel so out of place. Like, I'm just like, what fork do I use? Is it okay if I wear a t-shirt? Like, I don't know, And so I wanted a safe space for me to have conversations about art the way that I talk about them. But in the back of my head, I know that it's a way for me to practice how to talk about art in an accessible way. Because I also, I that's the one thing I don't like about the art world, or the art worlds, because there's many of them, but the art world is like, it's like made to be this like mystical thing, and everybody uses these very specific terms, and I'm like sitting there like, what the hell are you guys talking about? Like, that's a painting. Let's just get real. What are you doing? You know?
Yeah, and dude, if you cannot express in simple words what you do, like, and you need all this like fancy words that really are not transmitting your message, just get rid of them. Like, people, I do read a bunch of proposals, like, just talk simple. Like, honestly, I appreciate it. Like, I mean, of course, whenever those words are needed or are relevant, sure. But sometimes it's just like extra fluff that makes no sense. And to me, it's just like, who are you trying to impress? Like, it's just nonsense.
Yeah, but you know, there is power. I know that there is power in kind of knowing what those words are. So that's kind of also like, because I've been taken advantage of so many times and underpaid, or you know, people pull a fast one on me all the time. So, you know, you have, as people of color, you know, we have to know about our culture, and we have to know about white culture. And art, you know, the art world is white culture. You know, it's like white supremacy and everything. So unfortunately, we have to learn about all of that. And so I'm not saying this is like I know it's not a big surprise, but I think the Art People podcast is helping me practice these conversations.
In your experience, like using like this different language, more elevated, like it has worked for your grants or for whenever you're applying to other things, or
no? And yes, and so knowing how to talk the talk, then I could express myself and say, you know, I didn't have the courage before to say, hey, that's really an unfair question to ask me. I don't represent the entire Latino community. Or now when I'm invited to shows, I go, oh, hey, I refuse to do a show during Hispanic Heritage Month because Latinos exist all year round. You know, like, that's something that I didn't have the courage to say, I think, before kind of having the Art People podcast and carving it like this new way of talking about art. I want it to be approachable. I want it to be conversational. And sometimes people say like, man, Justin, why do you have to make things about race all the time? And it's because we are in the United States of America. Everything is about race here. If we live in a country that was built by Black slaves, right? So everything is about race here. Every single thing. American pop culture is Black culture. Okay.
Yep.
So we can't hide from that. And so even when I have white people on my show, I'm always like, well, you're in my space now, baby. Let's get into it. Let's talk about it. Yeah.
But that's so true. Like, coming from Mexico, I came here like 10 years ago. And I mean, my family is from Texas and stuff. Like, so I was always somewhat in the culture, like, aware of it or touching it in some points. And yeah, for me, it was like, oh, come on, oh my God, like, why? Don't get over it, and blah, blah, blah. And then I get here, and it's like, it's not that I want it. Like, it's slapped in my face every single day. And I'm very privileged that it's way less that one African American people like are faced with. Like, we didn't come up with this thing. Like, we're just like honestly getting the results of like all this year of the stolen land and the esclavismo, and like, it's no, que no lo enfrentes diario es negación, porque lo ves diario. Like, it's crazy. And at the same time, it's good in my experience that we're able to have more of these conversations from this other point of view. And I'm happy that, I mean, happy that this is happening. That more people are open to be there and to risk being in your space, or to risk like coming to one of these chats and knowing like, oh, it's going to be in Spanglish, so espero que hables español, o vas a estar perdido un ratito, pero hey, no te estoy mintiendo, eso es lo que hacemos aquí. And
yeah, y eso es lo que hacemos en Latinos Who Lunch. Like, Babelito habla más español que yo, you know, because that's just how, you know, like I don't speak English a lot. I mean, Spanish a lot during the week, you know, so when we record, it's funny because sometimes we'll record like 3 or 4 episodes back to back, and by the last episode, I'm speaking Spanglish the whole time, you know? But we have people email us all the time, like, when you guys say stuff in Spanish, can you translate it? I'm like, we're not going to do that. I don't even know that I'm doing it. How am I going to translate it for you guys, you know? And so
also Google Translate.
I know, it works. Try it. Google it, locas.
Google it, locas, yeah. Anyway, I'm so happy that you have those spaces where you also talk about delicious food and also talk to like a diverse group of people, and it's just, yeah, I'm very happy that you exist in the world of white guys. Yeah, I'm a fan, as we all know. Okay, what else? Your trajectory keeps rising, and you keep using all these tools and all that you keep doing into like a solid career. Like, do you have this business mindset? Like, do you have mentors? Like, how are you doing such a steady like up and up?
Es que trabajo como burro. Like, I don't.
Pues sí, pero yeah, no, I know. But you have to be smart about it. Like,
yeah. Honestly, when I think it was like 3 years ago is when I took the plunge and was like, okay, ya no, you know, like, ya no quiero trabajar en casino, no quiero trabajar en museo. Like, I want to do my own thing. And I got this residency in Florida 3 years ago in the summer. I think this is like the anniversary, like this month. And I said, I'm going to do it. I'm just going to try to be a full-time artist. So since the 3 years ago, I've just pretty much taken every job that has been offered to me. That stopped last year because now I'm getting offered more things that I can actually do. So, and so that is a really privileged place to be, because it has made me really think about my worth and my health, and also like we were talking about before, like this idea of like, okay, yo soy mexicano, guatemalteco, aquí estoy, you know, like, para aquí estamos para trabajar, you know, and that's kind of like the idea behind model minority is like, you know, like a lot of people see Asian people as model minorities because they're like non-threatening, hard workers. I think in the Southwest, you know, a lot of white people I hear say, well, you're one of the good ones. I love Mexicans. They work so hard, you know? We were always really proud of that. And so now I'm really kind of thinking about that and thinking about how messed up that actually is. Like, you only value me because I'm putting my body on the line to work for a white person or a white institution, and that's what makes me valuable. I'm more than just labor, you know. We're more than just labor. We're more than enchiladas, okay? Like, we are multifaceted people, just like you know. And so I've been thinking about that a lot, and so just I've stopped saying yes to everything, and that has been such a powerful thing, because then my yeses mean more, you know, like they're like, saying no is actually setting a really great boundary, and that's something I had to learn the hard way, you know.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so I think I think the reason why I'm kind of on an upward trajectory right now is because I take every opportunity from the biggest institution to the smallest institution that I work with is to learn from the institution. And mostly it's to learn what not to do again, you know? And you can only do that by experience, because I'm an installation artist and there's not a lot of people that do what I do. And so, actually, let me tell you a quick story, because mi abuelita Chavela, Isabel Favela, we did hicimos un nacimiento in Colorado, in Longmont, Colorado, at the Fire Arts Center, a small institution in Colorado. And so the idea was, me and my grandma fly to Colorado to this little gallery, and we make a nacimiento. And my grandma loves my art, and I thought she understood what I did. And like 2 days into it, my grandma was so tired, and we only worked like 8 hours in the day. I had people putting paper up all on the walls. I had people cutting cardboard para hacer la montaña,
Sí, claro.
Los nacimientos que hacen la montaña with the grass, con el zacate, okay. So we were all doing that. And then at the same time, I'm like doing my emails, and I'm doing this, and I'm doing that, and I'm doing that. And en la noche, después de la cena, mi abuela's like, mijo, she's like, ahora ya entiendo por qué siempre estás tan cansado. And I was like, what? She's like, este trabajo que tú haces es bien difícil. And I said, I've been trying to tell y'all, because they think I'm over here like, ay, es un pintor, like they just think I'm over here like Britney Spears in her backyard, like, And so she's like, she recognized, like, oh, what you're doing is you are creating an experience for people. You're not only putting on an installation, but I mean, it's a lot of work. The thing, okay, this is where this stems from, because I've worked for so many nonprofits and museums over the years, and I volunteered at many places with churches and with schools and this and that. I volunteered at so many places where they just make you feel like you're just another person, like you're just like a robot, just like cualquiera persona, like whatever. And so if you are going to take the time to come help me do an installation, I'm going to spend my energy making sure that you know that I love you and thank you for helping. And I'm going to make it the best experience for you. Do you want a water? Do you need a Coke? What's happening? Like, let's everybody tell stories. Let's make this a social event that's gonna be fun and productive and make you feel valued, because I can't tell you how many times I've been made felt like insignificant working for a big institution as a volunteer, or even as a paid artist, and so that's why when I do my installations and I have volunteers, I try to work really, really hard to make sure that everybody feels valued, because I couldn't do it without the help of all these people. And then another thing that I realized is, like, I need to slow down, because by the end of last year, after that installation, I was out of gas. Like, I was running on fumes for half of the year, basically. Y ya para diciembre, I had another installation to do, and I kind of feel bad for the people that I work with, because I was like, I'm just going to put my headphones in and just like, because, and I said, I don't never want to do that again, because I know that I can do better, regarding what we just talked about, or I just talked about,
Sí, y viene todo en juego de que cuál es tu intención al comprometerte a estos trabajos, de que cuál es la intención de los voluntarios. Y yo soy testigo de cuando fui a ayudarte nada más un ratito, de que you were coordinating, and that's the marketing, that's the administration, like on your email, that's coordinating a full group of people, like, plus the idea. It's just so many layers of what to do. And like, I do think, like, the partnership with the institution and making sure that you're committed to this work, like, makes a whole difference. But yeah, like, sí, también tenemos la cultura esa de estar trabajando, como estabas diciendo ahorita, de que sabemos que nosotros tenemos que demostrar que valemos la pena, y eso es practicando sin tomar breaks y aguantando más que los demás, y aparte con bonita cara y calladitos. Like, yeah, it's a lot. Y, sí.
Yeah, pero y la otra cosa es que, you know, I mean, la experiencia mía con mi familia is like, don't ask for help. Also, like, do it yourself.
Sí.
And so, even con, you know, con los voluntarios y con la gente ayudándome, a lot in the beginning, it was me coordinating all of that. And so now I know that, oh, I need to just seek help, and like, well, I'm already going to therapy, so that's the help for
That's awesome. Yeah, me too. Dude, no, yeah, it's such a huge change.
Yeah, but also like asking for help within the institution, like that show at the Houston Center for Contemporary Craft, Catherine Hall, the curator, I mean, she took care of everything, like, because it was the first time that I said, that she asked, like, so how do your installations work? And I said, ideally, this is what I need. This many people, this many hours, this. And she said, okay, I got you. I'll take care, you know, like, I'll be in charge of coordinating that. And it was like such a huge weight off my shoulders that I was able to produce a show beyond what I thought I could do, you know? So, yeah. And it just took her asking me those questions, because a lot of people, you know, it just depends. They don't think to ask that. But now I know that after that experience, like I said, now I know to demand that, you know, like, oh, you want me to pull off what I did in Houston? This is what it took. So get ready, you know? Yeah. Prepárense.
Yeah. Ponga el dinero donde va. Yeah, that's awesome. And touching on that, like, and all these topics that we've been having, like, el activismo que estás haciendo últimamente con Vegas y con los podcasts y con tu arte, ¿tiene ahorita un peso más grande para ti, o es prioridad? Sí, ¿verdad?
Yeah, for sure, because, you know, calladito te ves más bonito, you know? So for a long time, that's who I was, you know? Oh, this is Justin, el que hace las piñatas. Ay, qué bonito. Y, ay, sí hace esos paisajes. And I wouldn't be like, oh yeah, you know why I make those paisajes? Because I'm highlighting that sentiment that you have right now, this like love for nationalism and exotization of a culture that's actually damaging to us. I don't say that, I just go like, yeah, they're pretty paintings, aren't they? You know? And so I actually decided at the beginning of this year that I would be more vocal about the intent behind my work, because people only see what they want to see, you know? Like my work has always been political, but you can ignore that if you want. You know, you can just see the pretty mosaic, you know, paper mosaics that I do. And so I made a conscious decision this year to have uncomfortable conversations and use my privilege in that way to talk to my family, to talk to my friends. And then and then, you know, the pandemic happened, and then the uprising started, and after George Floyd's murder, and you know, I'm gonna be honest, I had like this white guilt. I was like, I haven't done enough, and I haven't, you know, and I need to talk to my family. So empecé a leer en español de antirracismo, and like, I don't know how to say all these words. I know how to say them in English, but I don't know how to say any of that before in Spanish, you know. So then that started me kind of going in and having uncomfortable conversations, like, oh my God, me and my mom talked for a very long time, but you know, it's great. It's a very positive thing. And I think a lot of people are kind of sick of me right now. So you have to like kind of take a break, you know, because, oh, Justin, that's all he talks about all the time at every whatever, you know. But I was also getting overwhelmed online because you're like, okay, well, what do I do? Do I donate to this organization? Okay, I've gone to protest a few times already. You know, like, okay, how can I use my platforms to amplify voices right now? So I'm thinking of all of that. And then I thought, I haven't been home for longer than 3 weeks
Mm-hmm.
at a time, you know, since 2017.
Yeah.
Right. I travel so much.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've been here in Vegas, and I said, I think I need to focus on Las Vegas right now, my hometown that I'm still very proud of, but there's a lot of issues that we've never talked about. University of Nevada, Las Vegas, UNLV. Hey Reb is our mascot, a rebel that is a frontiersman, a mountain man that's originally based on a Confederate soldier. Why is that white man, Yosemite Sam looking man, the mascot to a school that is literally one of the most diverse schools in the nation when it comes to the population of the students? Not to the teachers, not to the professors,
of course.
they're all white, but the students, right? So we started having conversations about that. There was a sculpture, a statue removed, but it still remains the mascot. So I'm still in conversation about that. I'm helping with bail funds here. I'm helping with, I'm trying to really do what I'm trying to actually be an activist, or a person helping an activist, instead of just reposting memes on the internet. Yes, justice for Breonna Taylor, but have you called your representatives? Have you signed a petition? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's the minimum you can do. Send an email, you know, like, those are things that I know how to do, and I can rally people around me to do that. And then recently, the Neon Museum here in Las Vegas, I've been aware of you know, the violent gentrification that's been happening downtown, and how a lot of these cultural institutions are part of it. We also have a mob museum in town in Old Las Vegas, and I have a lot of personal connections to the Neon Museum. I worked there for 7 years, basically. And I'll admit that when I was there, I was also part of the problem, because I didn't know how to voice my concerns with, like, hey, this institution is in a predominantly Black neighborhood, and we don't care about them. Like, the way that we treat the people in this neighborhood is bad. And I tried to express that. And it's not that I was silenced, but I was never supported. And so I've always had that in my heart, and thought about that. And, you know, fast forward to recently, which is like, the easiest thing you could do is say, as an institution that's in a position like that, is, hey, we can do better. We understand that we're part of the problem. We can do better. Black Lives Matter. Post that. I would love an institution to just admit, we suck. Let's do better. We want to do better by our community, right? And so, of course, they didn't do that. And they were actually silencing people on their social media, like by making, you know, it's really sneaky. So you can do this thing now on Instagram where you can restrict comments. So what that means is, like, if you comment Black Lives Matter on a Instagram, you will see it as a comment, but nobody else will.
Oh, I didn't know that.
They were doing that. Whoever does their social media or their communications or whatever, they were doing that. And that was the tip of the iceberg for me. And I was like, no, yeah, esto ya se acabó, because I know for a fact that there's only one Black person that works at the Neon Museum they actually quit last week, but it's another story. But I'm giving you too much gossip now. Let me just.
No, but it's so, like, I've been following on your social media, and it's inspiring, because I've been going through the same. Like, I am aware that like, not living in the States, like, not growing here, like, I got here as an adult and super ignorant. So it's just like, oh my God, like, I need to get, like, involved, like, this is important, like, how do I do this? And then it's just overwhelming, and I just have anxiety attacks, and then nothing. Like, okay, no, but what can I actually do? Because having panic attacks it's not helping anybody. Like, so yeah, and just going through your process and seeing like, hey, dudes, you should say this. Like, hey, we're looking at you. Like, how it has been progressing. It's such an important way and a good example of how to make your institutions and your community accountable. And
Yes.
it's a way that you can actually participate and observe and contribute.
Yes. So I did these little memes, or like not memes, but like I did these stories on my Instagram as a highlight. I just got like generic, office stock photography of people, and like, just kind of playing around and like kind of highlighting how cultural institutions like the Neon Museum handle things like this. Basically,
Mhm.
just sweeping things under the rug and then patting themselves on the back.
Yeah.
And so you can go to my Instagram now, and it's in my highlights now to see what I did. And I did that, and I thought, okay, I did it. I called them out. Cool. And then immediately after, the next day, I was like, no, this isn't enough. What's next? I have to do something. And so many people this is the thing, so many people are messaging me, DMing me more information, screenshots of emails, screenshots of this, screenshots of that and so I'm like, okay, I think I have to do this. I think I have to be the representative of all these constituents, old employees, current employees, people from the neighborhood, like these are people reaching out to me now. Let's do it. So I've learned from my friends that are activists, from my friends that are fighting the good fight on the internet. And I didn't want to be labeled just like an internet troll, or like just somebody that's an agitator. I want to help provide a solution, because in all honesty, the Neon Museum, I poured my soul into that institution the 7 years that I worked there. Some of my best friends I made working there. The volunteers, I mean, I love those people. Some of them are still like my family, like we had such an amazing group of people at that museum when I worked there. And so I had kind of like, once I left that place, I had divorced myself from the institution in a way that it was like a bad divorce. Like, I don't want to see you. You know what? Keep the kids. I'm not even going to talk to them. Like, it's fine. Their stepdaddy's rich.
Yeah.
He'll take care of them, right? Just send them over every other weekend. That was my mentality.
Yeah.
And so this has resurfaced a lot of things. I'm like, oh my God, I cannot believe I was so like passive aggressive back then. I can't believe I didn't speak up for myself with all of the knowledge that I have now and all of the examples I have of all these badass people that I've met through Latinos Who Lunch, through traveling, and meeting people like Coca y Greñas in Austin, right? And so, I wrote a letter with the constituency with a list of demands that the institution could actually work on, actual actionable, items. And so the next step now, I met with board members. They agree, like, yes, the Neon Museum could lead in showing institutions that they can be more progressive in the sense of standing up for their community, right? So I've met with a couple board members. They're putting a plan together. I'm still waiting for them to make a public statement, but the wheels are in motion, which is something that I was afraid was not going to happen, but it's happening, And so I don't want to speak too soon, but I think that there's real positive change coming. And I'm so excited again, because I really do love that place. And I love Las Vegas, I should say, that place. And I want to love it again. I want to have a relationship with I want to have a relationship with my kids again. You know what I mean? I want to be, like white people when they're friends with their spouses, and you're like, how do you guys do that? Like,
you can.
That's gonna be me. I'm gonna be in a Julia Roberts movie.
Oh my God.
Oh, wow.
That's fantastic. Congratulations. And again, like, you cannot control the los resultados que vas a tener o el efecto que vas a tener en otra persona, pero tú puedes controlar lo que tú puedes hacer y qué tanto te involucras. So yeah, and I'm just, again, like it's just so inspiring, and it's nice to see, and we go back to language, and we go back at the platforms, like these things can be done, and here's an example. Like you do you, but this is one way that we can actually see this step by step, and we're very, very grateful to have you in the community. And it's, yeah, and all with all of that, like with silly conversations, with love, with like taking things lightly, like I think at least that's the way I learn, and I love listening to y'all, and I know how knowledgeable Babelito is. It's crazy the amount of learning that I do whenever I hear y'all. But yeah, it's light and it's easy, and it touches like hard topics, but at the same time with cálmense todos, de que no sean payasos, blah blah blah. Like it's just, it's a joy having you being pues, liderando estas batallas.
Gracias. Yeah, I mean, and actually, you mentioned accountability, and that's actually what Latinos Who Lunch has done for me, because, you know, I talk a lot. I have 2 podcasts. I talk a lot. I talk way more than Babelito on those shows, and it's recorded. You know, it's and the Latinos Who Lunch listeners to me are like my family for real. Like, you know, I still need to figure out those boundaries. But if you're a Latinos Who Lunch listener and you meet me in public, I'm like, give you a hug. Let's go eat. Like, come on, you know. I love them, but I love everybody. But that's something that in the back of my head, I'm like, you know, we talk about these things on Latinos Who Lunch, and here we are in a moment in time where I could do something. My Latinos Who Lunch familia is gonna hold me accountable. Like, Fabi, where are you at? Why are you sleeping? Yeah. You know, and so not only are they pushing me, you know, and holding me accountable, but also it's a space that I know that I feel safe in, that we've created, so that I know I have that family to help me, you know, propel me forward and support me in the same sense, you know. So yeah. I don't think I would be able to do it without having that community, that greater global community, because I mean, we're Latinos Who Lunch listeners and Our People Pod listeners are all over the world. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's again, like how this format is working. It's like it is a conversation. It's not you giving like ¿cómo se llaman? Ay, los speeches que tú dices solo.
Monologues.
Monólogos.
Monólogos.
Yeah, it's not that. Like you actually have this relationship, and people do reach out, and yeah, it's a global conversation, and it's one that needs to be happening. Yeah, imagine if we would all like hold accountable like to other celebrities and other people, like or freaking leaders in the communities and like politicians and stuff. Like it will be something else for sure. Are you trying to caress me right now?
No, I have text messages coming in. They were blocking your face. I was like, ay, qué respeto. Like,
pensé que ya no te podías aguantar de que sí, Coca.
Ay, Coca, oh my goodness. Thank you.
Anyway, muchísimas gracias for all that you do and for making time to talk to me. Eso es siempre un placer enorme platicar contigo y verte y escucharte. Yeah.
No, igualmente, amiga. Thank you for thinking of me, and thank you for doing what you do. You know, like every time, from the very first time I went to Austin to the last, like you're always there, and you have such an amazing community around you, and yeah, thank you so much.
My absolute pleasure. Big hugs to everyone over there, and hope to see you soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Good night.